The hidden war for your mind. How they control you without you knowing. You wake up. The first thing you do is check your phone. Notifications flood your screen. News alerts, trending topics, ads tailored specifically for you. You scroll, thinking you're just catching up with the world. But what if I told you that the moment you opened your eyes, you were already being manipulated? Every thought, every decision, every belief you hold might not actually be yours. For decades, those in power have mastered the art of control, not through chains, not through brute force, but through something far more insidious, the subconscious mind. They don't need to tell you what to think if they can control how you think. This isn't paranoia, it's psychology. Studies show that 95% of your decisions are made subconsciously before your conscious mind even registers them. That means by the time you think you've made a choice, it was already shaped by forces you never even noticed. Why do you trust certain sources but dismiss others? Why do you desire things you never consciously chose? Why do some topics feel uncomfortable to question? Because the moment you entered this world, the programming began. From the color of corporate logos to the phrasing of laws, from the rhythm of a news broadcast to the silence around certain subjects, it's all engineered to guide you without your awareness. They don't need to ban ideas if they can make you forget they ever existed. They don't need to force compliance if they can make you desire it. But here's where it all changes. The second you recognize the manipulation, its power starts to break. The moment you see the patterns, you gain the ability to resist. By the end of this, you won't just understand how deep this influence runs, you'll know how to take back control. Because it was never really your mind they wanted. It was your obedience. The silent war on your perception, how words trap you without you noticing. You were never supposed to notice. That was the plan from the beginning. The most effective form of control isn't brute force, it's something far more subtle, something that doesn't trigger resistance. Words. Not just sounds or symbols, but the operating system of your mind. If someone else controls the language, they control you. Language is more than communication. It shapes what you believe, what you consider possible, and what you accept as truth. Change the words, and you change how people see reality. This isn't speculation, it's psychological fact. Your brain doesn't process language passively, it absorbs it, internalizes it, and uses it to construct your world. Say something often enough and your subconscious accepts it as truth, whether it makes sense or not. This is why they don't just use words, they weaponize them. War is never an invasion, it's a peacekeeping mission. Mass surveillance isn't spying, it's protecting national security. Censorship isn't suppression, it's fighting misinformation. An economic collapse isn't a disaster, it's a period of accelerated negative growth. The manipulation happens before you can resist, before you even question it. By the time you process what's being said, your emotions have already been muted by the language itself. Language is a cage, carefully designed to limit your thoughts before they even reach your conscious mind. They don't have to ban dangerous ideas if they can make you incapable of thinking them in the first place. Once you recognize how words are used against you, you'll see they've been at war with your mind all along. The only way to win is to break free from their language. You were raised in a system where words don't mean what you think they mean. Your news, your education, even your casual conversations, all carefully structured to keep you operating within an illusion of choice while remaining blind to the forces shaping your reality. And the weapon they use against you? Doublespeak. This isn't just lying. It's far more advanced. It's the deliberate distortion of language, engineered to make the unthinkable sound reasonable and the horrific feel normal. You don't panic when your government enhances surveillance measures instead of spying on you. You don't react when corporations fire thousands of workers because they're simply optimizing their workforce. You don't resist when laws are rewritten because they don't take away rights, they ensure public safety. The manipulation runs so deep that you don't even see it. Once you recognize the patterns, you start spotting them everywhere. Euphemisms soften the horror. Jargon confuses you into submission. Inflated language distorts your perception of value. Contradictory language makes the illogical feel normal. It's not just deception, it's reality being rewritten in real time. The goal isn't just to deceive you. It's to replace your reality with a manufactured one. A reality where you willingly accept the illusion because it feels safer, more familiar, and easier to digest. And the reason it works so well? Because it's happening everywhere all the time, every headline, every ad, every notification. The news isn't there to inform you. It's there to shape how you think. Every word is chosen with precision. A protest that aligns with their agenda is a movement. One that doesn't is a riot. When their side wins an election, it's a victory for democracy. When the opposition wins, it's a threat to stability. When everyday people lose their jobs, it's an economic adjustment. When corporations lose money, it's a financial crisis. They don't tell you what to think, they tell you what to think about. And the moment they control that, they control your perception of the world. This is called the attention trap, and it's how they control you without you noticing. You scroll through your phone. A headline flashes, economic uncertainty rising. Seconds later, an ad appears. Secure your future with our investment plan. That wasn't a coincidence. It was a setup. First, they trigger fear. Then they present the solution, their solution. And before you even realize what happened, your brain has already accepted their narrative. You weren't just informed, you were guided. This isn't random, it's precision engineered. Manipulation. Every news alert, every trending topic, every algorithm, they all work together to keep you focused on the narrative they want you to believe. Your attention isn't just a commodity, it's the leash that keeps you in their system. Fear is their favorite tool, and headlines are their weapon of choice. Fear doesn't just make you anxious, it shuts down critical thinking. It activates your survival instincts, putting your subconscious in control. And once your mind is searching for security, they step in with the answer. First, the fear. New crisis may impact millions. Then, the offer. Here's what you need to buy to protect yourself. Finally, the action. You don't just read the message, you feel it. Then, you act on it. By the time you think you've made a decision, it was already made for you. But the second you start seeing through the illusion, the game changes. The moment you recognize how words, headlines, and media are shaping your reality, you take the first step toward breaking free. The war for your mind isn't fought with weapons, it's fought with words. And once you see how the game is played, you can never be controlled by it again. The algorithm trap. How they shape your thoughts without you noticing. You think you're in control. You think you're making your own choices, forming your own opinions, deciding what matters to you. But what if you're not? What if every click, every search, every moment you spend online is shaping you in ways you don't even realize? Algorithms don't just predict your behavior, they shape it. Every time you scroll through your feed, watch a video, or read an article, a system is silently working in the background, learning your patterns, refining its influence, and feeding you exactly what it wants you to see. And the most dangerous part? It's not just showing you content, it's controlling your perception of reality itself. Imagine this. You click on one article about financial instability. Suddenly, your feed is flooded with warnings about an impending market crash. You watch a single video about government surveillance, and now every recommended video reinforces the idea that you're being watched. This isn't just content curation, this is psychological conditioning. The more you engage, the deeper you're pulled into a specific version of reality, one that has been designed for you, not by you. This is called the confirmation loop, and it's the core of how digital platforms keep you locked in. They don't need to force ideas onto you. They just make sure you never see anything that challenges what they want you to believe. Over time, you stop questioning. You assume what you see is the full picture. You believe your reality is the only reality. Think about your social media feed. It's not random. Every post, every news story, every ad is placed with precision. If they want you to feel fear, they amplify content that makes the world seem chaotic and dangerous. If they want you to feel outrage, they flood your timeline with headlines designed to trigger emotional reactions. If they want you to trust a certain narrative, they suppress anything that contradicts it. This isn't a theory. Studies have shown that social media algorithms can influence everything, from political opinions to mental health. In a famous experiment, researchers manipulated users' news feeds to see if they could make them feel happier or more anxious, without them ever realizing it. The results were undeniable. Emotions can be engineered, moods can be controlled, and entire populations can be subtly manipulated through digital exposure alone. But it doesn't stop there. Algorithms are designed to create addiction. The more time you spend on a platform, the more data they collect, the more influence they gain over your subconscious decisions. This is why notifications are engineered to be irresistible. Every comment, every new update triggers a dopamine response, keeping you engaged, keeping you trapped. Streaming platforms use the same tactic. Autoplay ensures that stopping is harder than continuing. The next episode starts before you can think about closing the app. The next video is lined up before you can decide to take a break. They don't just entertain you, they train you to stay. The numbers don't lie. The average person spends over 76 days per year consuming media, most of it passively, mindlessly. That's not just time lost, it's control surrendered. You're not just watching content. You're being programmed, and here's where it gets worse. Beyond just keeping you engaged, they sell your attention to the highest bidder. Advertisers, corporations, political entities, they all buy access to your subconscious. They don't just know what you like. They know how to make you desire what they want you to buy, believe, or support. Think about the last time you mentioned something in a conversation and then saw an ad for it online. Was it a coincidence? Or was it the result of millions of data points tracking your habits, learning your triggers, and predicting your next move? Even your search results aren't neutral. They're ranked, filtered, and prioritized to guide you toward certain conclusions. Type in a question about any controversial topic, and what do you see? The top results aren't the most accurate. They're the most profitable, the ones that align with the dominant narrative, the ones that reinforce what they want you to think. And the deeper you go, the harder it becomes to see beyond the walls they've built around you. You believe you're making informed decisions, but in reality, you're navigating a maze designed to lead you exactly where they want you to go. So what's the solution? Awareness. The second you recognize the manipulation, you weaken its hold. The moment you stop engaging mindlessly, you take back control. Stop assuming that what's in front of you is the full picture. Seek out information that challenges what you're shown. Question why certain stories are promoted while others disappear. Your attention is their currency. Your beliefs are their product. The system isn't designed to inform you. It's designed to shape you. And now that you see it, you have a choice. Keep scrolling, keep consuming, keep playing into their hands, or wake up and start thinking for yourself. The illusion of free will. How your choices are engineered without you knowing. You believe you're making your own choices. You believe your thoughts, desires, and decisions are yours alone. But what if they're not? What if everything, from the brands you trust to the opinions you defend, was carefully shaped long before you even realized it? This isn't science fiction. It's psychology, marketing, and behavioral engineering working together to create an illusion of free will. The truth is, your decisions are not entirely yours. They are the result of conditioning, exposure, and manipulation designed to keep you in line with a system that benefits from your compliance. Think about the last major decision you made. Maybe it was what to buy, what to watch, or even what to believe. Now ask yourself, why did you choose that option? Did you research every possibility? Did you question every influence? Or did you simply go with what felt right? Because if you went with what felt natural, chances are your choice was made for you long before you even considered it. This is how it works. The moment you're exposed to an idea, it starts shaping your perception. The more you see it, the more familiar it becomes. And the more familiar it becomes, the more your brain perceives it as truth. This is called the mere exposure effect, and it's one of the most powerful psychological tools ever discovered. Companies, governments, and media outlets use this against you every single day. They repeat the same messages, reinforce the same narratives, and flood your world with carefully crafted signals designed to make you think certain thoughts without ever questioning them. When a company wants you to associate their brand with happiness, they don't just say it once. They embed it into commercials, social media, and sponsorships until your subconscious accepts it as reality. When a political movement wants you to believe a certain agenda, they don't argue with facts. They simply repeat their message so often that it becomes the default belief. But here's where it gets even more dangerous. Your brain isn't just influenced by repetition, it actively avoids discomfort. This is why cognitive dissonance is one of the most powerful barriers to independent thinking. When you're presented with information that contradicts what you already believe, your brain experiences stress. Instead of questioning your beliefs, your subconscious tries to eliminate the contradiction. You dismiss opposing views. You seek out confirmation. You reject evidence that challenges your assumptions. This is why propaganda doesn't need to be forced. It just needs to be repeated. Once a belief is implanted, your mind will fight to protect it, even against logic and reason. Now think about how this plays out in your daily life. Your choices in entertainment, news, and even relationships are filtered through this system. If you always see the same kinds of stories in your feed, it's not because they're the most important. It's because they reinforce what you already believe. If a brand feels trustworthy, it's not because of the product. It's because of the psychological associations built into its marketing. If a political viewpoint feels correct, it's not because you've weighed every argument. It's because you've been exposed to it more often than its alternatives. The worst part? They don't just control what you see, they control what you don't see. Shadow banning, algorithmic suppression, and media blackouts ensure that certain ideas never reach you in the first place. You're not rejecting alternative perspectives because you've considered them and found them lacking. You're rejecting them because they were never presented to you at all. This is the foundation of modern mind control. It's not about forcing you to believe something. It's about guiding you so subtly that you never realize you had no other option. Think about your financial habits. You're told to go to college, get a job, buy a house, invest in the stock market, and save for retirement. But who benefits from that script? Banks, corporations, and the system itself. You're told to take on debt, spend your most productive years working, and delay true freedom until you're too old to enjoy it. But have you ever asked why? Because if you did, you'd realize that the system doesn't work for you. It works for those who profit from your obedience. They tell you debt is necessary, but in reality, it's a shackle. They tell you hard work leads to success, but in reality, it leads to dependence. They tell you security comes from playing by the rules, but in reality, it comes from breaking free from them. Because once you recognize the illusion of free will, you gain something far more powerful: real freedom. Not the kind sold to you by politicians, corporations, or self-help gurus. True freedom. The kind that comes when you stop playing by their rules and start thinking for yourself. The system isn't built on force, it's built on your acceptance. It doesn't need to control you, it just needs you to never question why things are the way they are. But now you see it. Now you understand how they shape your thoughts, your decisions, and your reality. So the real question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you ignore it, keep scrolling, and fall back into the illusion? Or will you wake up, take back control, and start thinking for yourself? The choice is yours. But make no mistake, now that you see the game, you can never unsee it. The debt trap. How they keep you chained without you realizing it. You were never meant to be free, not truly. From the moment you entered adulthood, the system had a plan for you, one that ensures you stay locked in a cycle of work, debt, and consumption for as long as possible. They don't need to control you directly. They don't need to force you into compliance. They just need to keep you financially trapped. Debt is not just a financial burden. It is a weapon, a tool designed to keep you working, chasing, obeying. The illusion of free will only works if you believe you have control. But what happens when your survival depends on paying off what you owe? What happens when every decision, where you live, what job you take, how much freedom you have, is dictated by the numbers on a bank statement? From the moment you turn 18, they offer you debt disguised as opportunity. Student loans are handed out freely, but financial education is not. Credit cards arrive in the mail, but nobody tells you how compound interest works. You're told that home ownership is the ultimate goal. But did you know that the word mortgage literally translates to death pledge? It's not an accident. The system was built this way. The moment you take on debt, you stop being a free individual. You become a financial asset for banks, lenders, and corporations. Your paycheck is no longer yours. It belongs to your creditors first. And the deeper you go, the harder it is to escape. A debt-ridden worker is less likely to take risks, less likely to start a business, less likely to challenge authority. When you owe money, your priority shifts from freedom to survival. You take jobs you hate because you need the paycheck. You stay in situations that drain you because the alternative, falling behind, is even worse. And that's exactly how they want it. But here's what they don't tell you. They need you in debt. The entire economic system depends on it. If people stopped taking loans, stopped financing things they don't need, stopped spending money they don't have, the financial industry would collapse overnight. Banks don't profit when you're responsible. They profit when you're trapped. And it goes deeper. Inflation ensures that even if you work hard and save, your money loses value over time. Your salary doesn't keep up with the rising cost of living, but your debts stay the same. The government tells you inflation is under control, but food costs more, rent goes up, and your savings buy less. If you think this is just an accident, think again. Inflation is not some unfortunate economic event. It is a controlled tool used to keep you in perpetual need. When prices rise, you're forced to work harder, take on more debt, and keep chasing security that never comes. And when the system pushes you too far, they offer a new solution: more debt. Need a new car? Finance it. Struggling with medical bills? Take out a loan. Can't afford a home? Get a mortgage. It's a cycle so perfectly designed that most people never question it. They just keep playing the game. But here's the truth. You don't have to play. The moment you see the debt trap for what it is, you start to break free. The first step? Stop chasing what they tell you to chase. You don't need to finance a lifestyle designed to impress others. You don't need to bury yourself in loans for things that don't bring real freedom. Instead, start questioning. Why does society push homeownership so hard? Why are student loans seen as a necessity when education itself is free in many countries? Why are credit cards given to young adults with no financial knowledge? But the truth about debt is hidden in the fine print. Because if you ever truly understood the system, you'd stop feeding it. You'd stop borrowing, stop financing, stop letting them dictate your choices. And once you do, you take back something they never wanted you to have: control. Real wealth isn't about having a big house, a luxury car, or a fat paycheck. It's about owning your time. It's about waking up and knowing you don't have to work for someone else just to survive. But as long as you're in debt, that freedom is out of reach. The good news? You can break the cycle. It starts with awareness. Then, with action. Learn how money actually works. Understand that debt is a tool of control, not a path to success. Build a life where you don't depend on banks, creditors, or the system to feel secure. Because once you do, they lose their power over you. And that's the one thing they fear the most.